pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I got my gavel again, so we'll have to be on our best behavior tonight. All right, I call the meeting to order. Roll call.
Mark Foltz.
Yes.
Mark Frazier.
Here.
Francis Griffith.
Yes.
Kelly Schmitz here. Troy Carmel here.
All right, agenda. It's before you.
I
Is
have
there any additions?
One addition.
Or
No loitering signs for the cemetery.
is it new business? New
New
business?
business.
No loitering.
And I want to add under new business also the township water property.
No loitering. Cemetery. You're talking about our property we own. Okay, with the additions,
Make a motion, we approve the
Mark
agenda
makes a motion,
with
we
the
approve.
additions.
any second? Butch seconds, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Our regular meeting was July 10th. You should have the minutes typed by Kelly, posted on our website. And right below the minutes on our website, you can get the actual meeting of last month, video. We'll talk about that later. Thank you, thank you. I haven't, I saw the start of it, and then I haven't heard it. I don't know how many likes we got or unlikes, but it's on the video.
Motion to approve the minutes as presented.
Motion been made, second.
Second.
Mark, Butch, okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. We have two public comment sessions. One's a short one, and then we have a longer one. Public comments. Okay, hearing none, we'll move on. Reports, Troy, Sheriff's report.
There was
We didn't get a sheriff's report,
Okay.
but we will just comment on
Yes.
so remember a few months ago the sheriff had mentioned they last fall did an agreement with Bennington Township.
I was
where-
at that Bennington meeting.
Okay.
I was too, you and I were both there.
So
While I was at work.
the sheriff had asked us if we had any interest in it. And, I mean, we kind of kicked it around a little bit. Brian's gonna come to our next meeting and just kind of give us a proposal if it's something we're interested in, where they would do some after-hours additional enforcement, particularly on M52, probably south of Beard Road where it becomes very straight and stuff.
Monday through Friday.
Looking at people doing dangerous passing, speeders, that sort of thing. Apparently, when they did it in Bennington, they felt it was quite effective. I mean,
Well, especially after
Just-
they got the road fixed and
Right.
the speeds went up there, they rode a lot.
well, you issue
Sure did.
a few, once people get a few $100 tickets and stuff, that at least sticks in their mind for a little while and stuff. So anyway, Brian's gonna come to our September meeting. He couldn't come tonight.
On the ag equipment, they traverse all.
Yeah, as we
over
start
water.
getting into fall, that complicates the road too and stuff, so.
Good Troy. All right, Mark, Cecil.
There wasn't too much. June runs were 132. We're actually down about 90 runs for total. And what doesn't show up is from the July meeting, we did order a new ambulance. Well, actually, we're sending the 2008 back to Lifeline, where they redo the box, rebuild the box, paint it, and put a new chassis under it for about $30,000 less than buying a new one. So that'll be the second trip around for that box, because we did that once before with that box, but there's nothing wrong with it. So, and we have arrived at the point where all the ambulances are basically set up the same, so that the personnel can climb into any ambulance and find things.
Good.
Roughly the same spot. They can't be perfectly alike because it changes as you buy them, the government changes things, but they're pretty close and it works out real well that way, so.
The ambulance, the fire department put on a little thing for the period last night. And there was, I'd say 60 kids out there. There was a lot of people.
They did say that they've run more ambulance calls on 69 since the construction started than they have in the last 5 years.
Kelly and I was talking about that today.
And those are good paying calls.
Yeah, no, well, there's a certain amount that are no transports, that's.
But if they are, they are transports.
But if they are transports, they definitely are, because the auto insurance companies pay the most complete of anybody. So.
All right, let's see. DDA, that's me. We did meet, but we didn't have a quorum. We met on July 18th, and that went well, but we were short of staff, so we did just kind of have to go around the board and talk. Justin was there, brought us up to date on some of the things they're working on. And we did have the commemorative road sign was installed on Old Lansing Road on the lights, and that went well. That was well attended, which was there. It was well attended by about 40 people, so it went well. And Sid's wife, Sid Grinnell's wife, Mavis, was very appreciative. Had a lot of the family, about 30 members of her family there, and she was choked up. I mean, it was very, very nice. So that was good.
Since you didn't have a quorum, you're gonna have a special meeting at some point, because they need to pay the rest of the consumers' bill.
Bill on the consumers, yes, we'll try to have it in August sometime here.
I also updated the DDA's portion on our website too, so hopefully
Okay.
I've got everything that's required.
Zoning, we had a 40 by 100 building, that's the Bath Road storage unit. That's being done right now. Then there's a 21 by 32 10-foot pole frame structure, and some solar, somebody's installing 7.8 kilowatt solar installation at home on West Beard Road. Of course, Meadows, we got an 8 by 12 shed and a covered front porch and a bedroom addition. So we have a few building construction, that's good. The file will be available in the office at all times to look at from office. Anybody from the public wants to come and view it. County commissioners, not present, John, Mark, or Jamie, library, you're on. Jamie is our director of the library.
Hi, Eric. My name is Jamie Conley. I'm the director of the Community District Library in Morris. Our Perry Township has a branch in Morris. Normally, Mark, you read this for Patty. Okay. Patty Fraser is our representative, or your representative, I should say, for Perry Township on our library board. And so I'll read her portion of.
You can just summarize it. She
Okay,
doesn't read
there's
it
a
word
lot.
for word,
She
yeah.
does a very good job.
Just the high points.
Okay, let's see. I'm actually here tonight to present the annual report, so I gave the board a draft of that. We approved a lease for a new copier in Perry, so that's an upgrade at a cheaper price. And then I just talked about the various meetings that I attended, and there were probably 3 or 4 of them in the month of June. And I submitted a large list of summer reading program events in July. And then we started using a Remind app, helping patrons to remind patrons to come to events that they signed up for months in advance. And so that's been helping with our attendance, to remind them. Repairs to the Morris branch were tentatively scheduled a couple weeks ago, but I'll get to that in my report. But I told the board that he was supposed to start a couple weeks ago. We finally got cable speed internet in Bancroft. We had DSL, which was pretty slow for the past year. Since that township hall was built, they didn't have cable speed internet out there, so that was an improvement. And I talked about a new service that we're going to start digitizing historical documents, and I'll touch on that briefly here. The Friends of the Library at the Corona branch purchased a commercial picnic table for the outside of the branch, and it's working out well. And I also touched on an article that I read in the Argus Press about the city of Perry looking to purchase a new building across the street from the current library in Perry. And actually, there's a meeting going on tonight about that. So I'm not sure how that's gonna end, but that's Patty's report. Do you want this back, Mark?
No, you
For
can.
your notes? Okay. then I am here to present the annual report, the rest of our fiscal year at the end of June. So, those are just, it's basically statistics. I try to keep it not too boring, but it's statistics, like I say. So I won't go over all the numbers, but it's nice for you to know how much that tiny little library is used. And district-wide, we circulated just about as many materials as we did the year before. There was a slight decrease, very slight decrease, but it's the smallest decrease that we've had in several years because steadily more people have been using digital ebooks and things, which has increased. But this is the first year since I've been here that we haven't had such a drastic decrease in physical materials. So I was happy to see that. Under the circulation stats, you'll see those are the number of books, DVDs, hotspots, maker kits, e-magazines, e-books. Those are broken down by how many we circulated district-wide. As you can see, the children's books are the most. We circulated 30,000 district-wide. Our digital collection continues to get circulated higher and higher every year. In fact, our cupola service is having a hard time keeping up with demand. We just simply don't have, we pay a certain amount every day, and we hit that limit really quickly. It resets at midnight, and sometimes 2 hours after midnight, patrons know that they won't be able to check something out by 6 in the morning, so they'll get up and they'll get in there. So we have to look at increasing that budget. It's a good service though. Trying to hit some, we started circulating hotspots about this time last year, and they've never been on the shelf. They're always out in circulation. We don't have many, we only have 5 of them. We don't want to buy so many that we're paying for internet for people, but we want them available in case our patrons need them if they lose internet at home or something like that. So they know to get on a waiting list and be able to check those out. But those have been successful. Let's see, on our revenue, we've been very careful with our expenditures, so we put a little bit of money in the bank. I expect that probably next year we're going to have to pay for new computers district-wide. Last time we did that was 2013, so our computers are going on 6 years old. And I think we spent about $55,000-$60,000 for about 55 computers. So that's probably going to be a big purchase in the next year and a half. They're still doing well, but it's time as software continues to update, we need to keep on top of, computer maintenance, so.
What are they, Windows?
Pardon me?
What are they?
They're Windows 10.
10?
Yes. We didn't go to, is there Windows, what's the latest?
7 and 10.
Okay, we don't have 10 then, we have 7.
Yes, okay, that's
We
kind
have
of
10.
why.
We have
7.
10?
No, we don't have time.
7 looks like XP.
Yeah.
10 is the one that's got the boxes.
Yeah, we don't
all over
have
the
10.
screen.
I don't think.
We're
I
looking
don't.
Is there a newer than 10?
No, 10
Okay.
is,
That's the new ones.
I could
Some is the
swear,
one that works.
I
They're
didn't
gonna
know,
make
I
us
could
different.
swear that when we bought them, the cooperative said don't go with the
A lot of people didn't want to go from
but
7.
you've had them since 12 or
12, yeah.
Probably 7.
I think it is 10. You would think I would know, we have a technology person. That's just that.
That's okay.
So moving on to the next page, these are the numbers that really count, in my opinion. Population served, for being very rural, we serve a lot of people, over 25,000 people in our service area, between all of our townships and cities. Library visits, we had about 80,000 people walk through the doors of the library in the last fiscal year. Card holders, we have about 5,300 card holders, and that back and forth a little bit every year. Some of those might be people that we have removed from the system, but we keep them very updated. But that's about, 20% card holder rate. That's pretty good. I'm happy with that number. We do a lot of programming. You probably see our events and programs in the newspaper a lot. We had nearly 8,000 people attend our library programs. Sometimes we might get 5 people, we might get 80 people. You just never know, especially over summer reading. Circulation, we circulated about 93,000 items. That's books, DVDs, ebooks, music, all of that. Magazines, so that's a pretty good circ rate. Computer use, we had about 15,000 people log into the computers. Wireless users, about 3,300. And district-wide events, we had 538 over 7 branches. And this year, we knocked it out of the ballpark with summer reading. Every year since I started in 2012, we've gradually increased signups for summer reading. This year, we went from 722 last year to 857 this year. Nearly every branch increased participation. Staff has done a tremendous job at going into the schools and doing outreach and actually bringing kids back in classroom visits and such. And I think we're retaining the kids that started younger, and they're staying into the program through teenage years, which is really hard to grab them and to keep them, because we do a really fun summer reading program. We really do. And if you turn the page, you can see most of these are from our summer events, but this is a snapshot of all the cool and fun things that we do at our libraries. We pack them in. And a new thing that we started circulating are launch pads. Those are learning tablets that we received through a grant, our technology and innovation grant. We were able to purchase 50 of them, and those are learning pads, learning tablets that we circulate for a week. And it's divided by age group, and they're fun ways to learn. You know, it's math, science, technology, engineering, creativity, all of that. And they have been, it's hard to keep those on our shelves also, especially over the summer. So we might have to purchase more of those. Of course, I talked about hotspots, talked about school outreach, and I talked about our summer reading. I have with me tonight the branch manager of Morris, Jenny. She doesn't like talking in public, but Jenny Oliver is the branch manager. Is there anything that you wanted to say, or I don't mean to put you on the spot? Okay. As you know, Morris branch was kind of suffering from some water damage over the past 2 years, and the village has agreed to have that fixed. And actually, Mr. Mike Godfrey, who's a local, I don't know if you want to consider him a handyman, but he does a lot of contractor locally, and he's going to start work tomorrow morning to fix that. So I'm very thankful that the village stepped up and decided to fix that issue, because the library, it serves a lot of people. So I think there's anything else that I want to touch on. In fact, Morris circulated almost 5,000 materials last year. If you've been in there, you know how little that library is, but it gets a lot of use, especially after school.
That's what I was just going to point out. I mean, on Morris's program, attendees was 1,247, and the whole district library was 7,940. I mean, that's way more than Morris's percentage would be, and Morris is not the biggest community. I mean, that just shows what a nice job you do there. I mean, you have great attendance there.
And she runs, sorry, she does a lot of after-school programs. So she runs book clubs for the teens and the kids, and game nights and all sorts of things. She goes beyond just the normal arts and crafts. She's the only branch manager that does story time for special needs kids. So she does a lot. So we're happy to have her on board.
Hopefully we can keep the water out of the floor.
Well,
Well, good.
Yeah, does anybody have questions for me or Jenny?
Did you get that email that I paid for about the, I'm gonna talk about it in a minute, with SCDP, but about the coordinator that has been hired for job shadowing, all that kind of thing.
Oh, no, I don't recall that, do you?
It would have been today, there's a meeting, I think, next week.
Oh,
Week
okay,
after.
no, I don't recall seeing that,
Just
so.
make it a point to look for it.
Okay.
Because it may, that's better.
Okay, if it was by the end of the day, I probably didn't see that.
Yeah, well, she may not have done it yet.
Oh, okay,
I forwarded it to her, but doesn't mean she got it.
okay. All right. All right,
Well,
thank
thank
you.
Keep up the good work, both of you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Good job, good job. All right, and Mark does a good job explaining what's going on. too.
Wonderful.
All right, Troy, I-69 trade corridor. meeting.
Our meeting is not till next week.
Well, that's easy. Check. SEDP,
Okay, we met the new coordinator.
what's her
that-
name? Yeah. Her.
It's not Lena, it's close to that. She works for the 3-county group, Ingham, Clinton, and Shiawassee, doing the coordination between businesses and education and so forth, to doing more vocational training and things like that in the area, setting up more of that. But
For kids, for young people?
actually also young adults and adults. But she is actually headquartered in Shiawassee RESD, and she is working, in the course of this, to get her enough hours, she's working part-time for SCDP. So we have command of her attention in Shiawassee County over other areas. And her and her bosses are very, very enthused about developing programs for people, for job training, for job shadowing, for mentoring, for just a lot of different things. And a lot of the businesses, it's getting very difficult to hire people. So if you can bring people in that were previously considered not trained or whatever, it's going to help the area. So anyway, that was our program at the last meeting. And the other thing that Justin said was that an awful lot of the development that is coming across his desk, proposed things, is Perry and Durant because of the expressway.
I-69, yeah. Okay, very good.
So, and just so anybody out there knows that our township board is pretty careful about what we want to see happen here and where. You know, it's okay, there's areas that are designated for that kind of thing, but we don't want to see a big complex in the middle of a farm field.
Good, Laura. All right, SEDP. And I will say that when we had our DDA, Justin did show up and spoke for 20 minutes. Brought the DDA board up to date on a few issues. Planning Commission.
No meeting.
No meeting, okay. Any more reports, Ed? Financial report and pay the bills.
All right, you got your bills list in front of you.
I think we should mention the good news.
Yeah, I was gonna talk about that.
Okay.
So a couple of things. First of all, a couple of our road bills for the year have come in. You'll see under the income side, we did get a check back from the county on the Kellogg drain crossing there on Miller Road. That's that one, of course, we did with Bennington where we had to haggle and negotiate and they weren't sure they could do it, all that, and then the thing came in almost $4,000 under budget. So we got $1,923.50 back, so. Because the difference was the road commission ended up not requiring the tube to be as long. Originally, they expected for a 60-foot tube, and the road commission said 40 foot was enough, since the road's barely 20 feet wide anyways. So,
It is pretty nice.
It is,
They did
yeah.
a good job with it.
so anyway, that came back there.
And just a word, Terry Gutting was the contractor at large that they paid to do it, and he had that sucker out. I watched him take it out. He had that, it come out, it broke out really in pieces. He had it out in very few minutes, and then had the other one in, of course, obviously the same day. So they did a good job. They did a good job.
Other than that, you just got your normal budget through the end of July. We would be third of the way through the fiscal year. So as we look at stuff and monitor, then that's where we're at. Are there any questions on the bills?
Pay 'em.
Mark's made a recommendation to pay the bills.
I'll second.
Butch will second it. Roll call vote, Kelly?
Mark Foltz?
Yes.
Mark Frazier?
Yes.
Francis Griffin?
Yes.
Helen Schmidt, yes. Rick Martin?
Okay. Correspondence, Kelly? Troy? Mark. Correspondence. I had some. Had a few emails just from some residents about various sundry things that's happening around our area. Not all right in Perry Township, some of them are in the city of Perry, but, I guess you'd call that correspondence. I did get a copy of the permits from our MDOT engineer, a guy named Keith Brown, and he sent them last Friday, and they're the permits for the access off off M52 onto that Bossier property. And so there's one from Shiawassee County, and there's one from MDOT. And it's evidently he had to pay a $90 permit fee, and then the access is good until October.
So he's allowed to do it.
They gave him MDOT apparently gave him a temporary driveway
So
permit.
that's, we did finally get something in writing, so just to let you know that. That was the correspondence that I'm just trying to think of.
And the county portion was from the health department meeting soil erosion for the temporary driveway. I mean,
The depth of it and everything.
again, that was the one that we protested why they would be eligible for a temporary one, but MDOT decided to give it to them.
So that's that. That's the correspondence I had. So public comment announcements, public comment and announcements. Public comment? No. No comment, okay. The unfinished business. Okay, we had our assessing meeting, our summer board review, July 17th, 2019. All the members were present, and we basically...
Summer board review.
Summer review. And somewhere on the letter, there it is right here. Smart fence, we had smart fence, there was just some corrections.
Just some corrections, yeah. That's all they were.
And then we had a residential exemption, 1 and 2. And then we had a few,
That's it. You had a couple PREs to do and a couple
Yep.
errors with IFTs that could be fixed and
So that was that, and it was a
routine stuff.
30-minute meeting, so there you go. Okay, now like YouTube posting.
Yep, so we received a link from Studio 130 on the last meeting. And I decided to, when I post the meeting minutes on the website, I decided to tag that link to the bottom of those minutes. So if somebody wants to watch it instead of read it, then they can push the button and it's all right there. So I think that's kind of how we'll get it out there on. They can go to YouTube and search us, but I think if they just go to our website, they'll be able to find it.
Thank you for doing that.
Oh, you're welcome.
Okay. New business, election laptops.
Yep.
Yeah.
So last month, I believe, I brought to your attention that the Bureau of Elections is mandating that we upgrade to Windows 10. The laptops that we have Windows 7 on them. They're old. They were actually given to us by the HAVA grant. Oh gosh, about, I think it was back in 2011 maybe. Anyway.
They're too old to upgrade.
Yeah.
January,
So,
they're going to quit
I-
supporting it anyhow.
I emailed the state to see if there were any other grants available to upgrade, and they said no.
So these are the two laptops that are used for the electronic poll book during election day. And with the state of Michigan is mandating that all municipalities that run election software be upgraded to Windows 10.
So
That's what this
I
is.
looked at Dell, and the Bureau recommended 2 of the Dell laptops. The one that came in the least expensive was the Inspiron 15 for $299.99. So I guess I'm looking to purchase 2 new laptops.
Are you happy with that one?
Yeah, and the one we have another one as a backup, emergency in case one of those goes down, and it was new enough, it's already Windows 10, so we're
Oh,
okay
good.
there.
I'll recommend we buy 2 of them, or
This comes
300
out of
apiece.
Yeah, we're gonna take it out of elections, yeah.
I'll
So-
recommend we move to purchase a new, what do you say that, is Real?
Two of them for the,
IBM or Dell?
Experian.
Dell?
yes.
I would
Experian.
suggest maybe up to $700 because
Not
of
to
maybe
exceed-
shipping or
Not to
whatever.
exceed 700 for.
Just in case there's
Okay.
something extra.
Yeah.
Motion's been made,
Second.
second by Mark. Roll call vote, Kelly?
Francis Griffin.
Yes.
Kelly Schmidt, yes. Ray Farmer.
Yes.
Mark Foltz.
Yes.
Mark Frazier.
Yes.
Next thing is desktops for the clerk and the deputy clerk. Okay, Kelly, yours again.
So we've got the same deal there, both Darlene and Kelly, I mean, all of our systems here run on Windows 7. So Darlene and Kelly have to connect to the QBF system for constantly updating. So what I'm thinking to do is, their computers aren't the oldest ones here, but if we replace theirs, we can then take the steps and upgrade their old ones to replace a couple of our other older ones that are too old to be upgraded, like Mark's and Martha's. So we'll rotate them all through. That way we can make sure they're in compliance, so we don't have any problems, and then we can slowly rebuild them and rotate them through, if that makes sense.
Are you gonna look at the assessors?
Yeah, we need to do the assessors too, right? We gotta do the assessors, we have a lot of technology needs, but we're gonna start with these two and then we can start rotating them through. But yes, the assessors is gonna be on in another month.
Gosh, I just got used to my computer too.
Say you're getting it tomorrow, you're gonna get it when I have time to rebuild it.
Okay, that's good. So anyway,
But we've gotta get them up to date so QBF doesn't kick them
so
off.
this is just more of information.
No,
Oh, you wanna go ahead and get to it?
It's mine, yeah,
Okay.
so.
So how much money do you need?
Which one do you?
Well, I would, let's approve up to, not to exceed $1,200.
Okay.
I'll make that motion.
All right.
Second.
Motion been made by Troy, seconded by Mark. All in
And
favor,
just
roll
for
call
notes,
vote.
this'll come out of, general government equipment, that's where we normally take that out of.
You're at 1,200 for 2 of them?
Yeah, that'll be plenty.
Okay. Roll call vote, Kelly.
All right, Kelly Schmidt, yes. Ray Farmer.
Yes.
Mark Foltz.
Yes.
Mark Frazier.
Yes.
Francis Griffin.
Yes.
All right. Additional, oh boy, tabular for AV county
Tammy,
board.
what are you told?
Okay,
Additional
so,
tabulator for the AV, that's the entity voting.
yes. So I was hoping that they were gonna give me a bid, before tonight, but, we have our absentees that, we run about 320 right now. The state of Michigan is estimating that those numbers are gonna double, for the 2020 election. So we would be looking at about 700 absentee ballots coming through. If you calculate that out, that's almost 3.5 to 4 hours just feeding those into the machine. So my thought is to do an absent counting board now, which takes the pressure off of the people that are, the people that are coming through the door. It takes the pressure off of the people working that, and then putting it into a closed sequestered area that only processes AVs. The tabulator itself is about $5,500, and it also takes a collapsible bin, which runs right around $300 or $400. So we're looking at probably another $6,000 there.
You have enough money in your budget there.
Yeah, we've got plenty. I mean, in the elections budget, we budgeted, of course, just, not knowing how many elections we're gonna have. The only one we're gonna have in this fiscal year will be the presidential primary, which the state will have to reimburse us for.
Okay.
So, we're not going to have any election this year that we have to pay for. So, yeah, I mean, Kelly was talking about this. I mean, these new machines are slower than the old ones. And the thought is with proposal 3 passing, allowing true no reason absentee voting, even though we've kind of already had that, they're expecting absentee numbers to increase, which is fine. The concern is, like you say, we start adding up literally 3 to 4 hours a day, just running those through there. If you look at a November general election,
There's no time.
there's not 3 to 4 hours of time that those, I mean, you're gonna be there putting one in, somebody's gonna come and put their ballot in, then you go, I mean, and then when it jams, you have a line already.
Or
And-
we wait until the end of the night and we're waiting 3 to 4 hours.
Right, that means that there's no results till midnight or so, which everybody gets antsy about.
So this separates from having it run them through the machine that sits here.
Correct, that way the people that are coming in the door aren't waiting in line longer because, we're trying to process absentees in there. On small elections, we consolidate precincts anyway, so there's no additional, we don't have to program that one for that because we consolidate precincts on small elections. This is to handle the November generals.
I make a motion that we go.
But we don't have a firm price yet.
Right, do you wanna agree to an amount, or do you wanna wait? I'm thinking it's probably gonna be about $6,000, but we can.
Why don't we just do it next month? We don't need it
What
right
brand,
now anyway.
what brand is it, a certain brand that you?
Oh, it has to be the same one, the whole county
It's-
is
it's-
division.
You're locked in.
Oh, yeah, we don't have a choice on the title.
Well,
You wanna table
I
it
make a
then?
motion, why wait until last minute?
Well, it's up, as long as we know the amount roughly.
Roughly, I would say roughly 6, we could say 7 just to be sure,
not to exceed seven.
not to exceed
Not,
7.
okay.
Are you good with that?
Yeah,
Okay.
for an additional 10
And that will come out of the elections.
Any county board, not to exceed
7,000.
7,000, all right? Butch just made a motion, I'll second. Motion made, seconded, roll call.
Trey Carmel?
Yes.
Mark Foltz?
Yes.
Mark Frazier?
Yes.
Francis Griffith?
Yes.
Oh, Schmidt, yes.
Well, as long
And
as
they
it's,
can share the, cellular, they do with the rest of it.
Yeah, and see, that's another thing too. Right now, we have a modem, which we pay $150 a year for. They have a device that is basically free that I just found out about. And so we won't be using the modem, which would save us $150. This device is $70 and you don't have to pay anything for it. All I have to do is download it on my computer
Just send it to the county.
to send it to the county.
okay.
So, I'm finding different ways to save some money, but
Well, we had to go with the cellular system originally, wasn't it because some of the townships didn't have high enough internet access or something, wasn't that it?
yeah, and I think the only other one that has this RTR is what it's called, is the city of Owasso? No, not city. The Owasso Township,
Also,
Charter Township. They're the other one that has that. And Caroline is hoping that everybody would get on board and do that. I mean, it's gonna save people money if they do it.
Well, you gotta remember, there's several townships in the northern part of the county that don't have internet, some don't even have phones. So, I mean,
Or work out of their house.
they do, I mean, you're stepping back 50 or 60 years and there,
Okay, well, we have another, since we're spending money, we have a Perry Fest contribution. That's Perry Fest is in September. I think it's the 17th, 18th, 13th,
Yep, September 24th.
24th.
Or 21st, sorry.
21st, around the, okay, yeah, Saturday. And we usually do a contribution, Kelly said around 2,000 to help Perry.
They-
So
they
we get a
re-
letter,
they
we got a letter
requested
from Perry Fest and, so,
I'll make a motion that we continue per the same agreement we had with the city of Perry for the Perry Fest.
motion been made,
Second.
and Mark will second.
Because we have an agreement in place with them, on that renews year to year.
Okay, roll call vote, Kelly.
Mark Foltz.
Yes.
Mark Frazier.
Yes.
Francis Griffith.
Yes.
Ellen Schmidt, yes. Trey Carmel.
Okay, Kelly, you want to address the cemetery issue?
Yes. So we are continually having issues with people going on the south side, on the old side of the cemetery, and parking and doing unheard of things back there because they're finding lots of debris. Anyway, I'd like to post no loitering signs on the back line of where the tree line
No
is.
lottery?
No loitering.
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 You contact the owner
No hanging
of
out.
that tree line, and they said that they were fine with us posting that back there. So hopefully it'll deter some of that, but, yeah, I mean, I went out there today just to look at a headstone, and there were 2 cars back there today.
Really?
It's the hot spot, I guess.
It is.
One of the best things we have is actors and we get dressed up like wolves or something and come springing out of the dark at the cars, they'd probably be so scared they wouldn't come back.
I stopped by the Great Gazebo today on the way home, and they can do some signs, metal signs up for me for about 25 bucks.
Yeah, it'll be under the amount, so we don't have.
Yeah,
Okay.
but just so that you know that, and we'll try to put some tactile wording on it to stop doing what you're doing.
There you go. You're being washed.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, so, the last thing, our property that we.
Yeah,
Property.
so we've talked about this a little off and on, the 40 acres the township, that a previous township board bought for future municipal water down in there. And then, if you recall, 2-3 years ago, we agreed to lease it out, which we're on year 3 of a 7-year lease. There had been expressed at the time, the people that are leasing it from the golf course there, they, had expressed perhaps in the future they'd be interested in buying it too. We were also approached earlier this month by the former landowner that the township bought it from, who would be interested in possibly buying it back too. Now, I explained to them that it was under lease, and even if we did do something like that, they would have to, honor the lease and everything else. So, now that I guess that we've had a couple interests in it, do you want me to explore that at all with the people we're leasing it with and these other ones, to see if there's any serious interest on that?
Yes.
I mean, my thought, at the time when, none of the people that were on the board then are on the board now, but, when they did that, the thought was, this was the start for the township to have a municipal water system and something that was never gonna happen. If we were gonna do something in our industrial area, it was gonna be with the city of Perry anyway, and this, my opinion, was not the right move.
Pipe dream that didn't come.
It was a pipe dream that never came true, plus it's several miles from anything.
Well, it's gonna be quite expensive to build the necessary infrastructure into it. And
Heck, most of the year you need a boat to get to it, so anyway, my thought was, if we can do something there, we would take and earmark those funds from selling that towards the Lansing Road water extension, in the DDA area. That was my thought of it. So if the board's okay with that, I'll just see what kind of interest there, and if it gets serious at all, obviously, has to come back to us.
in the codicil to that would be that I think we should make every attempt to recoup what we spent for that.
Oh, yeah.
Correct, I think so.
The problem was the board at the time paid 30% over market for it, and it's probably worth about what we paid for it, or they paid for it.
Let's get our money back.
That would be my hope.
All right. Let's see, public comments. Any more public comments?
No,
Just
I'll
as a
work on
comment.
You guys didn't have anything you wanted to say?
Going once,
We just don't have visitors very often.
going once,
We'll make this
going
big
twice.
next time.
Anybody wants to make a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Oh, Kelly makes a motion.
Yeah.
All right, a second?
Okay.
Okay, so 7:38. All right, 8 minutes.
7:38. I think you get 7:38 out of it.
7:39. 7:42.
We're getting better.
Big hands,
I'm
though.
looking at
With minutes.
you.
Are you sure that tonight's dinner wasn't at Charlie's?